laughing, but generally, that's what we're expecting here. So as we go into the first game of this best of 3 yet again, let's see what's going to happen. We'll introduce them once more as we start to the top left-hand side with the blue Protoss player. It is Billowy. And to the bottom right, it is going to be our green Zerg player from Imber. Give it up for Guru. Billowy, a player who's been has always throughout his career had such a mixture of success. A player who maybe has never really stunned offline, but has always been very solid in some online events too. Apart from the time when he comes out in like Pro League and like all kills 8, KT Roaster or something, So he's done some crazy things. So look at that, 130 versus 140 ping, nice and even. It is generally, again, it sort of depends on your internet provider and all the, a whole bunch of different things, but generally the central server is pretty fair between Koreans and Europeans. Which is nice. It does depend though, because for example, I know on my kind of NA server, I get way more than 130 ping on certain regions, so it does depend a little bit. But first match here, Guru helping us to confirm that's going to be pretty much even, as we see a pull first into the hatchery, then the gas follow up. So Billowy actually going to throw down a cybernetics core before he actually goes into the Nexus. Obviously, maybe feeling a little bit unsafe against what is going to be a few Zerglings initially. It's a bit of a weird ramp to kind of wall off here, because you don't necessarily want to block off your complete access down here and to move away from there or over towards. You definitely don't want to completely block off over towards the third base. So I guess what he's doing is just getting this cyber core a bit sooner, just to make sure he's got a couple extra units to help out, get a Stalker out or an Adept a bit faster to deal with these Zerglings, rather than just being stuck with them sneaking on by and running around his base and not really kind of causing havoc, but just being a, that minor kind of annoyance throughout the very early stages here. That's not what Guru wants to, not what Billowy wants to deal with at all. It's just going to play a little bit safer, slightly slower Nexus. The first Adept will be popping out just about when these Zerglings finish, which means he can chase them down. It's going to be a little bit late. But yeah, in general, you'll be able to chase those Zerglings down and pretty much just have something to make sure that they're going to get turned away, rather than still waiting for an Adept to come out, which would be the usual situation if he'd gone for the Nexus before the Cybercore. Some probes will have to pull away, and nice save so far. This probe pulling back as the Lingus came in to kill it, so nothing lost. 2 Zerglings going down. A good defense by Billowy, making sure again he just minimizes damage taken. And I mean, again as well, he can afford to take the slightly slower Nexus to minimize this damage, because he knows Guru is taking a slightly slower hatchery on his own side of the map to be able to get those Zerglings up anyway. So it's a little bit of a trade-off from either player, but we end up in a very common position now, as you just see the sentry on the way out. Still space in this wall for another building, which will probably just be the first tech of the game, which is very likely to be a Stargate or something along those lines. The Stargate, very popular lately, is a good way to set on up, get a good amount of kind of information in the early stages of the game, pick up a little bit of damage with the Oracle, and bits and pieces like that as well. How come they were on the Australian server? Just to quickly explain this, I guess, we have a couple of moments. Guru, by the way, going for a pretty fast lair, so we'll see what that develops into. But the Australian server or the NA server basically has 5 regions. US East, US Central, US West, and then Brazil, and then Australia. So when you host a game, you can actually set which region you prefer. And so when Billowy hosted the game, he actually just had I think he probably had it not set to Australia, but probably set to best match. And the best match function doesn't really work out. So basically, Billowy hosted it, and it hosted onto the Australian server of the North American server. And that's why they were on the Australian server. They weren't playing on the SEA region server. It was just the region within Americas. So that was what was happening just then. That's that was the situation, I suppose. So that's just sort of how it works. Again, it's a little bit confusing if you're not someone who plays a lot of StarCraft, or if you play on the European server maybe and not the NA server that much at all, then it can be a bit confusing as to which server is which. The fact that there is different servers as well is something that a lot of European players who, again, don't play on the NA server may not kind of realize or anything. So it is kind of interesting, as we do just see the Robo and the Twilight coming up, so it's not going to be that Stargate play we were talking about. The Robo initially just straight into an Observer and just looking for map vision, maybe an Immortal for safety, and pushing in towards the third Nexus. A few Gateway units early may just indicate that Billowy wants to go across the map and try and get something done, but it's not that many sentries. There's a lot of Gateway units to have built into right away, but it's just for safety's sake, because he doesn't have an Oracle to distract and to keep Guru back at home or anything along those lines. Let's talk a little bit about what Guru's doing. We mentioned that very fast lair earlier, which has delayed his third hatchery. But now he's going to have Roach Speed finishing up. He's just made a few Ravagers. He's got a couple more Roaches as well, and he's making some Lings with +1 melee. So, overall, it feels like he wants to play sort of Lingbane Ravager. That +1 melee very indicative of a Lingbane player style. But going into the faster Roach Speed, I'm not sure what exactly he's hoping to do with this. Whether he really feels he can do a lot of damage early with the kind of Ravager play and getting very aggressive. Well, that's a possibility. I mean, Roach Speed about to finish now. But Guru's also planning for later in the game as well with that +1 melee. That's definitely not going to finish up in the near future for an upcoming attack. So, Guru's kind of going for a bit of a mixture here where it looks as though he wants to be a bit aggressive. I don't actually really know because he's moving across the map with the Zerglings he just made, but the Ravagers are staying at home, so he's really spent a lot of money to not really do much. Maybe he was just a little bit unsure as to what this was. I mean, as he's seen this, maybe he was just expecting that Gateway Force to come across the map and to pressure, and maybe he still is. But the thing is, right now, he's definitely mistimed it a little bit because he could have made a bunch more drones and then these Zerglings and Ravagers and all the rest of it, you know. He could have thrown down some tech earlier rather than throwing into, you know, 500-600 gas worth of Ravagers. So, again, I mean, it's one of those things. With 2 Immortals up, Billowy's at that point where if he wants to attack, he probably could if he added on a Warp Prism rather than a 3rd Immortal. So Guru just playing kind of, I guess, very safe against a possible attack, but it's not going to happen, and so in the end he just has to keep on droning. And again, it does cost him a little bit because at this stage of the game, you'd probably expect the Zerg to maybe be a bit more comfortably ahead, or at least have been a bit more comfortably ahead for a bit longer in terms of the income lead. So that is as we see again, Ravagers and Lings is going to be gathering together, thinking about where they want to go, all joining up in the center here momentarily. And there's a few Overlords just spreading themselves out, thinking about what direction they might go into. Some units to the left-hand side, Stalkers moving forwards, Adepts and a few sentries with this. And again, it's super passive play from Billowy, just moving in towards his 4th base. No nonsense, no kind of craziness, just a 4th Nexus coming down and getting set up into the next stage of his game. These Lings get caught. You can see the Ravagers will respond by throwing some Corrosive Bars down, just going to try and protect these Zerglings, you know, I guess not protect the Zerglings, but just try and get some more value out of them. Nice force field there, just stopped the Lings from running through. He actually did kill a sentry. So while it did look like a bit of a disaster for Guru, I mean, a sentry, a zealot, it wasn't really an efficient trade, but he got something out of it. He made the most of a bad situation. I mean, killing a sentry there is probably better than you would have hoped for, considering he was completely just jammed in with Lings in a very tight area where he wasn't really going to get us around on anything. While Lings coming across, we are just going to be seeing those units from Billowy just going to be working his way through a few of those Zerglings for a few moments, so again, Guru going to back away. Now, Guru's gone for an interesting transition. He never went into that Baneloo nest, which I sort of alluded was going to be the case. And honestly, I am a little bit surprised by that, because I sort of feel like the Baneloo nest is something which makes a lot of sense in ZVP now. It's something we see a lot of the time in ZVP for that sort of reason. So it is very surprising that we don't see a Bane nest at all here. And instead going into a hybrid. He's still upgraded melee upgrades as well, by the way, which is what I think is most interesting, because he's going into +2 melee just for these Zerglings as well. The Zerglings, in this sort of scenario, there's not going to be that many of them because there's so much Roach Hydra production, so the things are not going to necessarily be that big of a deal. Lurker Dead coming down, so Guru going to play the Lurkers into the mid-game. It's been a while since Lurker play has been super popular, I suppose. It's been a while since it's been kind of really in the meta. But it's been making a bit of a comeback as of late, as we've seen more Hydra-based mid-games. There was someone playing a Lurker-heavy style at DreamHack Austin, and I can't quite remember who it was. Was it someone who played against Showtime? Namshar, yeah, Namshar was playing quite a Lurker-based style kind of throughout the series against Showtime, I remember. And again, I remember Showtime's actually post-series interview on that one, where he was saying, like, oh yeah, like, you know, it's a bit weird kind of playing against this Lurker style I haven't played against for a while, and it's just a little bit different to what we expect nowadays, so I guess the idea is the Lings will kind of keep the units away from the Lurkers and keep the Lurkers alive and in the back lines doing damage for a bit longer. At the moment, though, Guru is doing a lot of damage up here. Multiple gateways going down. Kills the Mothership Core as well, which is 100 gas that immediately has to be respent. And Guru is able to just loop back around with the rest of the army too. Was looking to poke at the front but didn't find anything. But just fine. He's just looking for opportunities, looking for kind of chances to do some damage before he goes into the Lurkers here very shortly. If you have a look at kind of how things are going in terms of Billowy's upgrades, he's going for he's got the charge up, he's got Immortals, he's got Archons, he's also got that Storm, so he really does have the tools he needs to fight against Lurkers. The one thing he probably is missing is just the actual Zealot count. Stalkers don't really trade that well against Lurkers, because what are they going to do, like link onto them and just instantly die? The Zealots fare a little bit better because of the way they can spread out a little bit as they charge in, and they generally do the tanking to just sort of keep the Immortals alive long enough to then reach the back lines, which is the Lurkers, and then start cleaning those Lurkers up. As we'll see, Stalker's going to blink up to the high ground. This Ling run by continuing here, and this time it's going to be backed up by a bit of Roach Ravager. A few Hydras mixed in as well. So this attack continues. It's a little bit of a tough one. Immortal going down, but the Archons will come in from the back. The rest of the army as well. Guru is still just going to abuse his mobility and position as it stands, though. And he's going to be able to start chasing down some of these probes. And all the rest of it as well. 6 workers currently dying off already. And still some units to the right side from Billowy coming through to just keep on fighting. Overcharge on this pylon is cleaning out just a few more of these units every now and then. And out to the south side, Guru just pulling in some Hydras and Lurkers. Looking to see what sort of position he can get into as forces to cancel these Lurkers over here, which is a nice little win for Billowy, but he still has to deal with the Lurkers over on the left side of the map. So playing with the Lurkers on the left side of the map. Let's see how this goes. The High Templar running in towards Lurkers. He's going to lose. He doesn't lose any of them yet. He's dodging away from the Lurker shots by moving sideways. It actually went surprisingly well for him, I would say. Lurkers now, he's going to keep on fighting this. He wants to push in. We do see a couple of preemptive storms, but the Lings don't run into that as, well, Lurkers still dealing the damage. Billowy's army, though, is standing strong. It's not being taken down just yet. It's being battered. It's being bruised. And still pretty okay for the most part, as Ling's going to run on in. Another big run by, and well, Billowy just isn't set up for this, having lost units in positions towards the natural base just previously. And we'll see these Hydras go, again, going to make the most of it. And suddenly 22 probes have gone down, and there's still Lings wrapping around probes in the main base. There was a few probes, Lings just moments ago in the third base still. This has turned into a very effective run by taking down Sentry 2. Actually, if Ling's in the fourth base also, all the probes are disappearing. 42 workers killed, and suddenly the economy from Billowy just disappeared. 42 probes in just kind of a set of run-bys. Look at that advantage of income just drop drastically into Guru's favor, but all of a sudden the Lurkers have nothing in front of them, and so they are starting to fall. The Immortals, I mean, 1 or 2 of them might go down here, but really not too many. And as they regenerate their shields, they're again going to be a force to be reckoned with as they push across the map. So Guru does not have a super strong army right now. He's still relying quite heavily on these run-bys to defend. Overcharge goes down and just helps slowly clean out this attack across the map. I mean, Lurkers on a high ground position up, past the choke point could be very effective. I feel the most Billowy can hope to get done across the map currently is probably pick off the external hatcheries and just set Guru back to 3 bases, which would, well, it would kind of even things out a little bit, I guess, because then Billowy still has 3 bases and 3 healthier bases at that, because he's got his external bases still up at 4th base, which is not going to have as much mind from as the main and natural. Of course, at this stage of the game, the main base, well, how many minerals are left here? 15. It's mined out literally in the next few seconds, and the natural expansion is not far behind it. So, for Billowy, losing the natural obviously sucks, but there isn't that many minerals there compared to this 4th base, which is very fresh. Then again, Billowy barely has the workers to mine from a 4th and 3rd base right now, so Guru, that said, will be dropping away in terms of that income advantage. As he loses the base to mine from, he will be oversaturated and he will miss out on some of that potential income. Throwing down the Spire, if he could hit a transition here, it could be deadly. When you've lost a lot of income like Billowy has, one of the more difficult things to do will be to change your own tech in a response to your opponent, because you're very much so reliant to, with what you already have on the map. So if you're reliant on what you already have on the map, if you suddenly have to deal with a completely different composition, you might need something completely different, aka you're not going to be in a great spot to get that up, as 6 more probes going down. A cannon to the left side is sort of protecting here. The High Templar taking some shots. That ain't pretty. And again, let's look at the anti-air right now for Billowy, and you can just see 2 Stalkers and 2 Archons with the 4 Storms as well. I mean, straight up, Archons are not really kind of the best idea against Mutas, because they're very immobile, they're very slow, and so the harassing Mutalists can jump between bases very easily, and that's something the Archons will very much so just straight up struggle to deal with. Another Archon morphs in here on towards the 4th base. And these units of Billowy still just moving out down to the south side of the map. I mean, as Guru re-expands, Billowy has to look towards getting something done, because his own income, his own economy is still in shatters, is still kind of shattered here. So he needs to find some way to kind of clean Guru's economy out, keep him on a low income, or just take a fight to end the game. Army supply 106 to 67, but he's playing against defensively placed Lurkers, and that means it is not going to be easy for him to fight into some of these positions. As we see this army coming up to the high ground. Again, set up, ready to go. 2 Zealots to the right. I mean, this is really nice because Guru doesn't have that much to run around and start you know, sending units to kind of defend. And this base too is going to get taken down. So again, Guru still very much so limited in terms of his income. There's the mutas though, and they're moving around. I mean, it's difficult for them to engage this army just in case a couple of storms hit. 2 Archons left at home though. Billowy has had a little bit of a heads up on this. He didn't see the Spire, I don't think. I don't even know where the Spire is. There it is. He didn't see the Spire, but obviously he's got some sort of a warning. Maybe he saw Mutilas popping out actually. Because he has already got 2 Archons sitting above his 4th. So maybe he just feels as though, maybe just imagine that that was the way in which Guru was going to play anyways. Maybe it was just a couple of safety Archons left there. Maybe not to deal with Mutilas actually, but maybe just to defend against Zergling run bys. That's also a possibility. So it's going to work out either way, as some Stalkers will warp in to help fight against this. I mean, at this point, +2 missile, or +2 weapon Stalkers against unupgraded Mutalisks are going to be okay against this number of Mutalisks. It's only 10 or so, which is not really that many. You know, it's a nice number, but when there's a, you know, a warp into Stalkers will begin to push it back, and Guru isn't in a position where he can just trade out Mutas for Stalkers, because again, his income is not really great here, as, well, Mutas are going to take a shot from this Archon right away, take 2 shots, and they're battered and bruised. Immediately, Guru cancels that 4th hatchery, which he's trying to get up yet again in this game. He's going to try and expand to the left-hand side as well, too. And his Mutas just coming up the right will throw down a hatchery as well to try and get a little bit more done. You can see this hatch going to get cancelled there. And as that hatchery gets cancelled, still some Mutas just coming up to the high ground. And, oh, it's coming up to the top side of the map. But look how many Stalkers are back at home now as well. And as these Mutas come in, well, it's just going to be an instant turnaround. 2 go down. Maybe there could be, I guess there's 4 Archons. I guess he's pretty safe in terms of anti-air over with this army. I was going to say maybe that's the opportunity for the Mutalisks, but I just don't think so. I mean, it was a nice idea from Guru, and honestly, I thought it was going to work, but Billowy kind of stabilized well enough. He's responded nicely, and he's been able to kind of get enough income going for himself to kind of clean up those Mutas. And I guess a kind of part of that is the fact we saw Guru being so far ahead on income, but in reality, not having bases to mine from meant that he wasn't mining that much more. And you can see now, even without a worker lead, Billowy is in that income lead because he's got a fully saturated, healthy 4th base. He's got the 3rd base still quite healthy as well. And Guru's got what? He's got 2 mineral patches on his 3rd base, not on the natural, not on the main. That's all his, you know, that's all of his mineral patches. He's trying to get this base up, which is obviously going to be what we see Billowy trying to get rid of as he attacks on in here. Storm comes down. The Archons will want to fight against those Mutas. Nice Storm on top of the units of Billowy as well, but I mean, it cleans up the Mutas, which is the important part of this. There's going to be one single lurker left over that Billowy just can't really deal with just yet. He doesn't actually have an observer in this army. I actually kind of like the fact that he's backing away. These Immortals and Archons will benefit so much from just allowing their shields to regenerate. I mean, if you run into that lurker, you could very quickly have lost everything right there, but backing away for just a few moments, getting the shields back, it just creates that efficiency once more. And as he cleaned out the Mutas, he's going to bring the rest of his army over to the right-hand side of the map. There is some more Mutalisks rebuilding, sure, but how long is that really going to last for? Another revelation, and there's still one lurker here, which is going to be unsighted, as we're going to see some attempts to transfuse lurkers up. Drones pulling in as well, but Guru really doesn't have much else to do. GG, game number 1 goes the way of Billowy in this best of how these maps look and how they play out. So we'll have a bit of a discussion of this as we go in game. Let's quickly introduce the players, then we've got a quick shout out to make. So first of all, to the top left-hand side of the map, the Brute Protoss player is Billowy. And he is going to be going up against the player who's now 1-0 down in the series. Let's see if he can make a comeback. It is Guru. Thank you very much, Dovenwolf, who throws a cheer 100 into the chat. Yes, some STI hearts, some love in the chat for Dovenwolf. Thanks for the cheer 100. Comes the Bit Boss, our first Bit Boss of the day, knocking out Duttles from last night. Thank you very much for the cheer 100, dude. Appreciate it. And as we set up and look to see what will happen in these early stages. So let's have a look at this engine. I think one of the interesting things is how close both of these watchtowers are. Obviously, it will still give you vision kind of out to here, and it will. Both watchtowers are kind of required to kind of hold the central pathways, or all the central pathways, which is pretty much the most of, for the most part, the pathway that's going to be used. There is actually through the top side, I guess, pathways as well on the bottom side, but that really is like literally walking around the entire edge of the map, so it's going to take so much longer than just running straight through the center. So watchtower control will be very important here. I mean, the main base is pretty standard. It's got a pretty tucked away natural in the mineral line, sorry, in the sense that it's got its back to the, the mineral line is to the corner of the map, so it's not easily dropped into. But there is a lot of dead air space if you to kind of fly units up and to get medevacs in the back, etc., or liberators too. So that's that. Over to the right side, I guess this space is a little bit droppable. There's some dead air going in towards the main. Moving down towards the third base, we're probably going to be talking about, well, either this base over here or this base, depending on how you want to play. Both have advantages, and both will, we'll probably see kind of a usage of both as time passes by, as the natural is pretty standard as well. Mineral line, again, not too exposed, although, again, still definitely droppable. And I guess a siege tank position over here or two is something which could be a little bit of a nuisance as well. So it sort of depends with the third base you take. You take this third base, I feel your natural's a bit safer. You take this third base, there's less access to the main. So it's an interesting one, it really is, as we see Billowy just scatting around here in the early stages. And we'll continue to see how this is going to develop over the next few moments. Thank you very much, Taco Stuff. Cheers 100 in the chat, says Go Go Guru. You weird little guy. Thank you very much for the cheer 100. Some more love in the chat, please. Some hearts. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And congrats, you are now the bit boss. The cheerleader. Hey. Guru has stopped making drones. He is making Zerglings, he's making an evolution chamber, and he is looking to get ready to start elevating. I mean, when there's new maps, one of the things that's going to be a little bit more difficult to deal with is going to be cheesy, aggressive plays. As players are a little bit less kind of comfortable walling off quickly, they're going to be a little bit less comfortable with the powerful positions to drop into, etc. And you can see right now, Billowy just isn't actually walled at the front. Stargate building in the back of the main. I mean, a Stargate is a nice way to help out against these sort of drop plays. The reason being that you can, well, I mean, an Oracle obviously fights against Lings and Trays very effectively. A Phoenix can actually just straight up kill the Overlord. No vision right now for Billowy. He will complete the wall at the front. So he's going to be able to do that. He comes into the natural. He's going to see the lack of drones. And now Billowy, I think, really will begin to know what's going on. It doesn't matter because these Lings run into the mineral line at the same time. So Billowy has to go into crisis management mode right here. You see Adepts coming in towards the main on the low ground. Well, the Mothership Core has started, but it's not here just yet. And as these Lings are starting to work their way through this gateway, which has just started to build, you're going to see obviously the kind of replacement wall starting to come in. And the Oracle coming through. So far, so good. Lings do come down to the low ground, though. 9 probes have still fallen. But he is still kind of 8 workers ahead. So Guru definitely has to find more damage as more Lings will be dropping into the main base already. And again, attacking the front here. These Lings going to try and break their way through and just gain access in towards the base in another direction. In the main, we do see those Lings which just got dropped. Currently fighting an assimilator rather than going after the Adepts and Probes, which is obviously a bit of a mistake. He needs to trade as well as he can throughout, against all of these units. A couple of Lings in the natural mineral line will help to take down another 2 or 3 workers. And still on board drops just coming in towards the main, but now Adepts underneath the Overlord. Those Lings are not going to be able to drop out of there efficiently. And Guru kind of realizing what's up is going to just start droning himself. He's thrown down the third hatchery. And realizing that this is pretty much the end of this. Damage done was okay. I mean, 12 to 13 workers. He evens up the worker count. And he'll take a slight lead as he continues to drone here. I mean, obviously the third hatchery is late, so that's a negative. He'll start up his +1 melee upgrade as well. I mean, the problem is, like, an Oracle, for example, is something Guru still has to deal with. I mean, he's already thrown down the spores, but he might still lose a couple workers here and there. And there's a couple, as a couple of workers go down, that's just going to help kind of Billowy stay in kind of a worker advantage in the game. So it's going to be a pretty big deal, perhaps. I mean, generally, when you hold off this aggression as a Protoss player, you are taking a lead in the series. You're getting to that point which is an advantage for you. You're going to be at that point where you're like, okay, cool. Now I'm in a like leading position. The Zerg player is not going to have that much tech, and some other bits and pieces as well. So I guess that sort of point. Wow, I just glanced over to the right hand side of my screen, which is where my XSplit is, and I saw this thing spinning. I was like, whoa, what? Why is my XSplit loading? It looks like a loading circle, That really caught me off guard. I was like, whoa, what? But yeah, I mean, generally, this is a position which is favorable for Billowy, and you can sort of see it coming into play now. As he has his own tech up, he's warping in. I mean, and Guru's just kind of not taking a lead in work count or anything. He has to remake Overlords. His Phoenix kill them. I actually love the Phoenix investment because the Phoenix, I feel, can do so much here as well. Because again, Guru's not in a position where he can afford to lose many drones. So if he tries to play greedy, well, then the Phoenix is a very safe way to play it because you're not going to be attacked. But you can also shut down all those drones that are being made with the lift. So, I mean, there's a whole bunch of ways to look at this, but I think in general, it's pretty much the majority of advantages are going to be for Billowy. How many workers were killed here? Just a couple. 10 workers, 10 kills on the Oracle is only going to be 2 workers then. The other's just going to be coming in from earlier in the game, which of course was the Zerglings, as he just defended. I'm just going to be seeing these Phoenix still looking around. I'm just going to be seeing the again Overlord getting poked away at and doing a little bit more damage. Yeah, Spore Crawler just coming up in the right hand side of the base, and this Overlord 2 also going to get shut down. So we're going to be picked off there, and again, Robo Base starting to build just in the back of this natural mineral line too. And still, Phoenix just gathering up together, just keeping on harassing and looking to see what else is going down. One more Phoenix pops and we'll come up to the top side of the map. I'm actually going to see the Robo Base being used for Colossi here, which maybe not quite what I was expecting this to be. I was maybe more expecting this to be a I don't know like actually what I thought the Robo Base was going to be, but seeing Colossi being brought in from PV for PvZ is a little bit strange. Anyways, we're going to be seeing these Phoenixes getting ready to kind of keep on harassing around, looking for opportunities. What's up, by the way, guys? If you just tuned in from TLO's stream, thank you, TLO, for the host. I didn't see you streaming, man. I was watching some I was trying to watch some StarCraft earlier. I didn't see any streams. How did I not see your stream? What? Am I just blind? Am I just dumb? Thank you very much for the host. Hello everyone from TLO's stream. If you just joined us, we're in our first series of the day, so I mean we've got plenty of action to come your way. This is the WardiTV weekly. It is competition or weekly number 9. We have a pretty great lineup of players: Jachi, Hero, Alives, just some players who are in this bracket. So we're in the round of 16 at the moment. We're going to have, again, a whole bunch of series coming your way. So sit back, sit tight, and enjoy the ride. As we are in game 2 currently of Billowy versus Guru. Guru was down a game. The last game was about 80 minutes long, a pretty cool kind of back and forth one. Guru's kind of lurker play style just not working out for him. And in this game so far, Guru has attempted a Link Flood, which didn't really do too much. And so in general, it feels as though Guru is a bit behind. The supply may not represent that right now, but that's mostly because Guru is invested into kind of pretty low-tech roach-based play. Compared to, on the other side of the map, pretty much everything from Billowy is coming up here. He's got Colossi, very late Twilight and Forge, I suppose, so actually very late gateway-based upgrades. And that's just going to be seeing the Phoenix still flying around and still just looking to see if there are opportunities to take advantage of in the near future. Robo building down towards the third base as well, couple drones. Just being picked off by the Oracle, still being a nuisance here throughout the game, and just continuing to slow Guru down wherever he is able to. And again, just look at this army. You can just see there's so many roaches in this. And I mean, Roach Hydra's a thing, Roach Ravager's a thing, but this is like 3 Ravagers, 2 Hydras. It's not really the amount of tech you expect to see 10 minutes into the game from a Zerg player. It's almost as though Guru's just like... I mean, this sort of composition can work. The reason it doesn't usually work is because it very much so relies on the Protoss player making a mistake rather than you playing well, because you're pretty much relying on the Protoss player to just really mess up their micro in an engagement. And that's going to allow you to kind of just break through and swarm over if they miss force fields, etc. Now, obviously that's not a very reliable way to play, because if your Protoss opponent is pretty good, they're not going to make that mistake, and then there's not really much you can do to change things. The introduction of a few more Hydras is nice, and I mean, Billowy's playing fairly passively himself. I love the fact he's gone from Colossi production into Immortals upon seeing how many Roaches there is. It's not a bad idea, because the Roaches are going to get shredded by those Immortals, so... I actually kind of like that. It feels like the Immortals are a smart way to switch. And me think, well, he's got the potential to build more Colossi. Why would you build Roaches? Well, it can work out. As you're going to see him picking up a few Hydras. Does lose a couple of Phoenix though in the process. And we do have the. Well, yes, continue to move up this side. A few forces coming down, catching these units very nicely. As to the south side, Roaches keep on pushing in, triple overcharge and some Stalkers. It's going pretty well, I think. I mean, this is a perfect defense so far by Billy. Maybe not perfect, but it's very, very good, and it's going to kind of start doing what he needs to do here. These Immortals getting caught out by these Roaches is a little bit of a shame. He's actually moved commanding those around a bit, and Billy might indeed end up losing the 4th base, but... okay, this was a bit messier than I thought it was. Initially, this was looking kind of nice. It was looking kind of safe and solid, but it very quickly became a little bit messy. Losing those 2 Immortals right there isn't something I think should have happened. And then he had to pull back to deal with those Roaches too. Like, again, if those Immortals had just gone to a better position, warped in a set of Stalkers or something, then all of a sudden those Roaches disappear, the rest of the units stay at the front of the 4th, and that army can't really push in either, so... I mean, again, it was okay for Guru. It's better than I thought it was. I like Guru's composition a lot more now with the Hydras. I mean, it's kind of a weird balance because you want Colossi against the Hydras, you want Immortals against the Roaches. So what does, Billowy build? Well, at this point, building more Colossi would definitely help, but he's actually still building Immortals from the kind of heavier Roach camp we saw previously. So that might be somewhat problematic. Again, the army having to be split up as well. But the entire army of Guru comes in towards the 4th, so again, Billowy just has to instantly cancel, and good plays by Guru. Really doing what he needs to do to bring himself back into this a little bit, and to again put his name back kind of on the board and just say, hey, consider the fact I could still win this game, because I know it wasn't a great early game, but I've done the things I need to kind of recover from that so far. Resource loss very favorable towards Billowy, of course, and that's why he'll get away with not taking a 4th base successfully for a little while longer still. Pushing down this side right now. Does he have Storm, by the way? He does. Okay, well, that's obviously very problematic for these Hydralisks. Still trying to push in through the south side. Again, there maybe isn't quite enough units here for the Protoss player. He'll warp in a few more Zealots. Charge seems as though it's taking forever to complete. Will be done in just a few moments. As we do see again, a defense up here. Lurk is going to start morphing in, though. Again, Guru pretty much playing the same playstyle as what he played in game number 1. Just a little bit of a different way to kind of get to this point. As the, again, the Lurkers will probably just be the thing that takes down the 4th base for the 3rd time now in this game. 2 Immortals helping just push back the last couple of units over here. The wall is dropped, though, which makes it so much harder to defend upcoming fights. Some Queen's just going to sit out in towards the center of the map and think about continuing to spread creep and push out some more creep spread, etc. in the near future. Roaches, Hydras, and the Ravagers are going to continue to take down those rocks. They will be dropped there, and as those rocks disappear, again, just opening up the map, I guess, opening up new pathways. And this pathway kind of nice, I suppose, just Guru away from him to kind of get back to his creep spread if he has to escape up this top side. Now goes the Lurkers, and the 4th base yet again is going to get dropped here. Moving forwards, well, just about in range, but it's not going to be too deadly just yet, unless he keeps running back through the range of those Lurkers. Most of the rest of the army to the south side. Archons and Immortals and the Colossus is here, but he's kind of just lacking the gateway units, I suppose, to keep these heavier tech units alive long enough to deal the damage he needs to. The rest of the army comes in. This actually wasn't so bad, considering how much Zerg just went down. I think you can justify losing a couple of Immortals and Archons that he did. Still the Lurkers over here, though. I mean, they're in a very sort of... It's actually a very weird map in the sense that the choke points seem very narrow. Like, this pathway here, moving down to that location is super narrow. Like, way more narrow than you might expect a choke point to be, which is out on the map outside of kind of like the main, I guess it is very close to the natural. But because Guru's in this sort of position there, and because, Billy's been expanding down to the south side of the map, it means he's not going to really be able to push down this. A bit of a larger ramp, he might have been able to take advantage of those Lurkers being somewhat out of location. But as it stands right now, that's not going to be the case. Again, the rest of the army from Guru will come over to the left to see what he can get done. Again, just going to be seeing the Roaches and Hydras just sat and seeing, again, what might happen. I was actually going to say we might be able to see kind of the army just coming around here and setting up a concave to engage those Lurkers, but obviously if you're distracted and keeping the rest of the Protoss army pinned to the south side with the rest of the army, those Lurkers are still pretty safe to just sort of sit up there and to stay defensive. +2 missile attack from Guru begins to start as well, so continue to tech up himself right now. There's again another set of Roaches and Hydras up to the north. We'll probably think about trying to move up this ramp, but has to be careful of the Stasis Ward. Oh, it goes off just before it gets killed. I mean, there was an Overseer here, which would have helped. And it's kind of awkward. All the units that are trapped by the force fields are actually Stasis, so you can't even kill those off. He will start to fight this, and he will push that back. Still, meanwhile, at the south side, not too much else is happening. This army being kept away, as you can see a Zealot run by. And finally, I mean, the first time in what feels like, well, probably like since the Oracle and Phoenix were across the map, first time we're seeing the Protoss player coming across and getting damage done. No transfuses from Guru, small mistake there. Billowy loses one Immortal out of the 4 that we're waiting for these units to pop out. And still, again, pretty decent trades. We're going to be seeing now some Dropper Lords making their way towards the center of the map, and that's going to be Guru's next way to kind of attempt to get something else done here. Guru with a large bank, by the way. Billowy has been struggling to get that bank going for himself as he's been struggling to max out, but Guru obviously has been feeling pretty okay. And look at the Spire finishing up. This time the Spire switch, the transition into Mutalisks, is going to be so much deadlier. With 2,000 gas already in the bank, rather than 10 Mutalisks, we're talking about an instant 20 Mutalisks on the map ready to fly around, destroy your bases, and just make your life a misery. So, well, in the meantime, so much of the Protoss army to the south getting ready to attack while we see the attack from Guru. There's about to drop into the main. Now, there is some units still to the northern side, but it will take them a little while to get into position, and if they have to run up this ramp, well, that might just be the issue for them. I mean, how do you run up a ramp into what is going to be a combination of just units spread out into a concave? It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be easy. But he has to sort of go up that ramp, because otherwise, what's he going to do? Give up all of his gateway production? Well, that's not exactly ideal, is it? There's the 20 mules on the way. So again, to that sort of point here, Archons will lead the charge. This is actually going okay for Billowy so far, I think, because a couple of Zealots helped him kind of distract these units, and just in general, they were kind of fighting some gateways for a bit longer as well. So it's a decent cleanup actually. Billowy doesn't take too many losses here over towards the main. Continue to extend down the south. He already took the 4th base now, which is something we saw him unsuccessfully trying to take up to the northern side of the map for so long. Now he tries to expand to the very far south side. As you can see, the meters though running across the map, and 22 of them are here to start harassing. And of course, on top of that, some Roaches and Hydras coming in as well. So really, what does Billowy do? He's going to have to turn around. First 2 Archons go down instantly, and again, the meters are getting more so into that sort of scary number where they're going to be able to fight a lot of the anti-air that Billowy is able to kind of set up for himself nice and quickly here. So that's going to be kind of the awkward situation that Billowy is in. You can see Billowy kind of thinking about what he wants to do. I mean, does he set up for a base trade? I mean, if he fights into this, he's going to lose a little bit of his anti-air, almost definitely. If he loses just a few Storms, if he loses just a couple, well, just 1 or 2 Archons, I mean, he doesn't have much anti-air at all, is what I'm trying to say. He's only got 3 Archons, he's only got a very low number of Storms. So these mutas, you can see them spreading out, splitting up. He knows he wants to come in and fight this, so here we go. First Storm's not really connecting on anything. The High Templar being targeted. The Archon's going to try and do what they can, but the High Templar are gone, which means that these Archons will fall very soon after, and so the rest of the army of Billowy is just going to keep on disappearing. That said, I mean, momentarily it looked okay for Guru, but again, there's just no answer to the Mutalisks, and that's going to be GG. I'm not very, I don't know. It's been a while since I cast kind of like through the day. It has been a while, so kind of, I don't know. I guess my mind's just not really understanding the idea of talking this early in the day, I suppose. Anyways, let's go into this and see how this is going to go. Bottom left-hand side, Billowy is our blue Protoss player. And he is going up against the green Zerg to the top right from Imber. It is Guru who opens up with the 12 pool to kick us off into game number 3 of this series. But look how fast Billowy scouts, by the way. He's just going to scout straight after pylons, so that's going to be really awesome for him. Coming straight across the map. And looking to see what's gonna happen. Again, guys, I appreciate that there's people from around the world watching the stream today, and we don't have a Korean stream, but we do try and keep the chat in English, just because that's just one of the chat rules, just to try and make it possible for the majority of people to be able to discuss and talk and keep things clean. Rules are below the stream if you would like to see them. Appreciate it, guys. Alright. So, sign up. We're going to be seeing again a few more links just popping on out here, as obviously Guru will look to pressure early. Problem is, though, Billowy, I mean, he sees this, so he's going to go Cyber Core early. He'll be able to throw a pylon down to help wall if he needs to buy some time. There's very low chance that Guru is going to find the damage he needs to get done with this early attack. And yeah, he throws down the hatchery now. He starts to take a gas and he makes drones, but he's already delayed so much to get the 12 pool that he's already 6 workers behind. You know, Billowy throws down a Nexus. He's not going to slow down himself because he has no need to slow down. As you see in the bowlings just coming forwards and seeing what's up, Zealot. Probably just slicing away at a ling or two. We'll see what it might be able to get done here. And I mean, again, it's annoying to have your pylon kind of being attacked, but it's going to be a pretty solid hold for Billowy. As a second Zealot comes out, he can leave one in the wall, send one out to kind of, you know, again, just swipe away at the Zealots, the Zerglings a little bit more easily. Now he can make an Adept as well. So again, very solid hold, nothing lost, and he just goes into this natural expansion with a 5-6 worker lead. And it's kind of like the last game, I guess. I mean, I would say that Guru is a bit more crippled in this game than he was in game number 2. I feel the last game Guru was quite far behind coming out of the Link Flood, but it was at that sort of point where at least he was allowed to go into a macro game with a decent-ish economy where, you know, a couple of good trades will bring him right back into it. And that's exactly what he did. He found some good engagements, he found some good fights, and that helped him to continue on. This tournament is held on the NA server, guys, so NA Central. Ping, we actually discussed previously, was pretty much the same for both. It was actually talked about in the first game of the series, and they said it's about 130 ping to 140, so Both of them with pretty similar ping, pretty similar latencies right now here in this round of 16 matchup. Twilight Council will be finishing in a few moments from Billowy. The Robo facility is just getting started up as well, so setting up into all of that tech. And you're going to see this probe just pulling back from a couple of these Zerglings. Darkshine will start up in the back of the main base, and we're going to be seeing the evolution chamber coming up in the back of the natural. Again, nothing really too crazy here. The build from Billowy, considering it was a Twilight and a Dobrobo, is very much so, again, just suggestive of the fact that he wants to go towards a Archon-based drop. It's a build we've seen a lot of, and yeah, no real surprise there. Lots of lings on the way out from Guru as he gets ready to just defend against these Adepts. Pretty fast Bane Nest as well. I mean, what's Guru actually seen, I suppose, just to kind of get things, get a look at things. He's seen the Robo. Not sure about the Bane Nest. Actually, it feels as though the Bane Nest... It's kind of weird because it feels as though the Bane Nest isn't something he needs to defend right now. Unless he really feels as though it's going to be resonating glaives, which it could be. I mean, if he only sees the Robo... I mean, you kind of oftentimes see like a glaive attack with a Prism nowadays, so... I guess the Bane Nest's just a safety thing. I mean, alternatively, he goes to try a Bane Burst, and that's what I was humming and hawing about, because if he wants to Bane Burst, well, it's kind of weird because he has started up +1 melee. And he has started up kind of, more lings, but he also started up drones. Like, it was a bit of a mixture. Looks like he might just try and go for kind of a Bane drop in towards the main to try and get some damage done. More lings coming out onto the middle of the map then, and it's going to be seeing those first couple of DTs do warp in. The ability here from Billowy is the 2-gate variant, so you don't go for the 3rd and 4th gate, which allows you to take the 3rd Nexus a little bit faster. And it just means that the 3rd and 4th DT are a little bit slower, but if you're just going for Archon drops anyways, it doesn't really matter so much about the speed of your DT drops. It matters much more about when the Archons come in. DTs for now, though, will actually find themselves a chance to swipe away at the 3rd hatchery. No Lair, no Spore Crawler in position. Well, this is problematic. Banes are going to try bust the front, and this Zergler, this Zealot will go down. Meanwhile, in the main base, some lings dropping off as well. 4-5 workers going down. So Billowy is in trouble. He's taking damage, and he's losing a lot of workers. This Bane goes off. That's not the best from Guru, however. The thing is, Guru is also going to lose his 3rd hatchery. No! Billowy! He leaves it alive. I'm sure he'll go back and get it, but I mean, just in case he doesn't or somehow fails to, could be problematic as Guru will continue to do damage across the map. These DTs do come back in towards the 3rd. Will swipe that down. Gets the kill. I mean, Billowy is surviving. He got rid of the 3rd Nexus. He's got a wall over here in case the rocks get taken down. He's resecured the front with this Dark Templar, which is a pretty huge deal as well. And suddenly Guru is playing a 2-base game with no lead tech. He's got +1 melee, but that really is about it. And this DT can't be answered. There's no lair, so you can't morph in an Overseer. And obviously, a DT is not maybe the best of units to have against kind of lings because it does a massive amount of overkill and fires very slowly, swipes very slowly to do damage. But it's still going to be something to slowly pick away at those units. And so Billowy defends another wave of aggression from Guru. And, well, now you're going to see this drop attempt to come in once more. But, I mean, to what avail is it going to have? You're going to see these 2 Stalkers actually doing a pretty decent job pushing this back. But the Overlord will still survive. And now that single Archon in the main base, we'll probably see again 2 more Dark Templar just to morph in the 2nd Archon shortly. Still no lair, which means this base over here will get taken down. This is the 4th base, as we see Guru just trying to double expand right now to get back into the game any which way. I mean, just shutting down the 4th is great. At this point, really, Billowy could probably just warp in more units. I mean, he's added on some gates, right? So he's up to 4 gates, going into 5. He's got the Prism. I really feel as though Billowy probably could, if you wanted to, just kind of continue to harass and move into like a much larger attack. This Spore Crawler not being allowed to burrow, by the way, is also a pretty huge deal because it means that these DTs are just going to have free access to the 3rd base. Lings are going down. Should probably go after the drones, perhaps. He's going to warp in 2 more DTs. You know why? Because he can kill the 4th base before an Overseer morphs in. Queens here will have some transfuses, but does he really want to commit the transfuses? Probably not, because the Queens will probably die. Now drones going down too. Guru is in so much trouble. Look at the damage he's taking all over the place. Insane damage being done. The DT is picking off the 3rd. Suddenly Guru is once again back to 2 bases. His double expand getting shut down in both locations. And, well, he's trying to build his 3rd back in the original location, which, again, at this point in time is not looking pretty for him. Billowy doing everything right. And, yeah, he's got kind of a Lings and a Bane kind of being annoying and potentially going to be a bit of a frustration. Overcharge is going to be a pop down. A little bit too late. Doesn't really kill anything. But the, oh no, the Archon's going to come in. The Archon can kill those Overlords. He knows it. He's going to start just running forwards. The Prism just giving him the extra little bit of speed on the Archon to come forwards and to keep cleaning up the Overlords. So, Pneumatize Carapace coming in to help out a little bit as well. But still, Archon cleans up, and it's again one of Guru's last opportunities to get damage done. Starting to disappear for him. All of a sudden, Guru's in this position where he can't get much done. And Billowy will probably just go for a large attack. He's got a bunch of Dark Temple, which he morph into Archons. Guru trying to go into the Spire. He's going to have gas for about 7 Mutalisks, which is, again, not really enough. With 3 extra gateways coming in, I mean, just the warping of Stalkers back at home should be enough to hold those off. He's got a good amount of Archons in this army as well. 5 of them, plus a few Stalkers too. I mean, it really is just enough for Billowy right here. As he starts to come up towards the top side of the map. Glaives will be finishing very shortly as well. Again, there's those 7 Mutalisks, but they're going to have to really create some magic if he wants to find a way back into this game. Stalkers. Again, a couple of shots on the meters, and again, it just gives Billowy a few extra seconds of information so he can warp in a set of Stalkers at home. He's got his Mothership core as well. I mean, what are those mutants really going to do? Are they going to do enough to pull Guru back in this game? That's what we've got to ask ourselves, but sadly, I think the answer to that's just going to be no. These Archons will do a lot of the tank and they'll do a lot of the damage, and Guru will just type one out, and Billowy will